Hello and welcome back to Whence, a Freemasonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. I'm your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Right off the bat, I just wanted to say I hope everybody is enjoying the Midnight Freemason's website. Now that I am managing the site, I try to make sure that the content is always fresh. Content comes out again 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so check that out. Also, I wanted to mention that if you're into CrossFit and some good healthy living choices, please consider checking out On It and shop through the link on our site. Use the promo code WCY at checkout for 10% off, and then we also get a little kickback and you get a percentage off. So all around, a really good deal. All proceeds that the show gets, of course, go right back into the programming. The first piece I have for you this week is from the Midnight Freemasons, and I wanted to read the 3-part series that I loved about Enoch and the vaults. Now, Brother Frey wrote this piece, and when I asked Brother Frey if I could read it for the show, I had no idea that he would do us the honor of reading it and recording it for the show. And I also want to mention that Brother James, like myself, just got over a cold, so both of us have some scratchy voices this episode. I apologize. But anyway, it is with great pleasure, and I have to say some excitement, that I present this piece by Brother James E. Frey.
Good evening. Whence came you, Masonic Podcast, and the Midnight Freemasons present In Search of the Lost Word by James E. Frey. Part 1. The Stone of Foundation. My brethren, within the Masonic system, the search for the lost word is at the root of individual transformation. Both the York and Scottish rites have together an extensive mythology surrounding this quest to utter the true name of God. This is Masonry's quest for the Grail, its mythology which stretches across biblical history. As every individual Mason must walk the steps to utter the ineffable word which has become lost. The mythology of the lost word begins at the moment of creation itself. God declared the awe of light in the darkness, and all came to being. At this moment, God enacted the spark or creation, which Masons revere as the stone of foundation, the cornerstone to which all creation was built. According to Albert Mackey, 33rd degree, the stone of foundation is one of the most important and abstruse of all symbols in Masonry. It is referred to in numerous legends and traditions, not only by the Freemasons, but also Jewish rabbis, Talmudic writers, and even Muslim doctors. Albert Mackey, page 772. The stone of foundation appears in numerous degrees in both York and Scottish ritual as not only the presence of God, but the foundation of his creation. Masonic Talmudists call it Eben Shatijah, or the cornerstone laid by Jehovah at the moment of creation. The stone is mentioned in biblical work in the book of Job, chapter 38, verses 4 to 7, which the Almighty states, "Where was thou when I laid the stone of the earth? Declare, since thou hast knowledge. Who fixed its dimensions, since thou knowest? Or who stretched out the line upon it? Upon what were its foundations fixed? And who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of the God shouted for joy?" After their expulsion from paradise, it was the only item Adam was able to carry out of paradise. It passed in succession from father to son, passing through the lineage of man to Jared, the father of Enoch, whom in the apocryphal book is written, "The book of Enoch speaks of the stone which supports the corners of the earth." This is central to Masonic myth, especially concerning the ineffable degrees, cryptic and royal archmasonry, which alludes to Enoch and his journeys through heaven, of angels known as the Watchers, and a race of giants known as the Nephilim, which terrorized the lands until being destroyed by the flood. Enoch, the son of Jared, was the sixth in the descent from Adam. It is said that Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Genesis 5:22-29. Enoch had a dream in which the supreme deity appeared to him and said, "Enoch, thou hast longed to know my true name. Arise and follow me, and thou shalt learn it." Then Enoch ascended to a mountain summit, which was high above the clouds and the stars of the heavens. He saw letters of brilliant light appear upon the clouds and form it, the mysterious and ineffable name. It appeared in bright letters of the angelic alphabet. The pronunciation of the name was prohibited from ever being uttered by any man. The ineffable name would become the lost word of the ancient craft. Enoch then ascended from the mountain summit down into the earth, passing through 9 subterranean apartments, one below the other, going deeper into the earth. Each apartment was roofed with arches. In the 9 lowest arch, he saw the ineffable name upon the triangular plate of gold, surrounded by brilliant rays of light upon the stone of foundation. Thereupon he awoke. Enoch awoke with divine inspiration to search for this sacred mountain and fulfill God's vision to construct a secret vault of 9 arches, which would survive the flood which God told him would soon overwhelm the world in a vast sea of ruin, and to destroy the Nephilim, who were the abominations of the fallen angels and mortal women. He journeyed to the land of Canaan and discovered Mount Moriah as the place to build his secret vault with his son Methuselah. Canaan was then populated with the descendants of Adam, who Enoch enlisted as workmen for the construction of his secret vault. At the base of the mountain they excavated a vault of 9 apartments, as he had seen in his dream. Down in the lowest of the arches he placed the stone of foundation upon the pillar of beauty, which was made of white alabaster and adorned with Enochian or angelic letters. The pillar was triangular and hollow, and into it flowed a stream of inflammable air that was burned continuously with a bright light. Upon the stone he placed a triangular plate of gold, inlaid with many precious gems. There he engraved the ineffable name of God, and sank the plate into the face of the cube, which he then placed upon the pedestal. There the precious treasure might remain undiscovered, and to remain to preserve the knowledge of God's true name. God feared that in the flood all knowledge of the arts and sciences would be lost, so Enoch was commanded to build 2 great columns or pillars upon a high hill, one of brass to resist water, and one of granite to resist fire, so that one may withstand the end by water, and the other to withstand the end by fire. Upon the granite column he engraved the description of the subterranean apartments and of the treasure that was deposited there. On the brass pillar he inscribed all the rudiments of the arts and sciences, then known to man as the great truths of masonry. During the flood, the granite column was swept away by the waves, and the characters upon it lost to those who would seek to find the ineffable word. Though fragments of the granite column were found by Mizraim, Genesis 10:6-13, 1 Chronicles 1:8-10. Only the brass pillar stood true, and was afterwards found by Noah, who sought in vain for that of the granite, which had the inscription, upon which he knew of from his grandfather Methuselah, who is the son of Enoch. The true name of God remained lost. Dr. Oliver wrote loosely of the stone and the word in his Historical Landmarks. When he had placed the celebrated stone of foundation, on which the sacred name was mystically engraven, with solemn ceremonies in that of sacred depository on Mount Moriah, along with the foundations of Dan and Asher, in the center of the most holy place. The word was lost until God spoke unto Moses in the flaming bush. I am that which was and shall be. I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thus shalt thou say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me unto you. I am the Lord that appeareth to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, by my name, Al Shaddai. But my true name I did not show them.
Alright, now how cool was that? I know there was some difficulty hearing the vocals in the beginning, but I can assure you all you missed was a little bit of an intro, although it was pretty good if you could hear it. The next is another piece that I wrote for the Midnight Freemason, showcasing a personal story, The Will of the Worshipful Master. June 11th, 2012, almost 8 months ago, I visited a local lodge to be in the audience for a third degree. The night was great. It was my first visitation of any lodge outside of my own. I remember walking in and headed downstairs for some fellowship and a meal. I remember it smelled like something good was cooking. I smelled ham and eggs. Now, normally, I'm not very into breakfast for dinner, but these fellas did a great job. I had 2 plates of ham and eggs with cheese and onions. It was going to be a great night. I still remember how cool it was to watch another lodge within my district perform the sublime degree of a master mason. The lecture, the lodge room, the presentation was just so very different, but still so very familiar. I loved it. Just before the final gavel that evening, the worshipful master said, "Thank you all for coming out tonight, and I know you'll all get home safely." I said my goodbyes for the evening, and I hopped in my car, which coincidentally my mom had been driving for a year or so, and I had just gotten back. I was parked on the grass and had to maneuver my car around several other vehicles parked in the grass as well. I attribute my excellent skills of the successful navigation of this makeshift parking lot to my off-roading skills. But all kidding aside, I started driving home. I was on the phone with my wife via a Bluetooth hands-free speaker telling her about the night and how nice it was. I hung up with her and decided there was enough time to give my mom a call as well, since I was 20 or so minutes from home yet. As I started to press the hands-free device in order to give a voice command to call my mom, I heard something. It was a honking from a car. I looked and saw the car in front of me get sideswiped, and then I swerved out of the way as well, but without effect. I had been hit on the driver's side, and then I smashed into the car in front of me, essentially a T-bone. Needless to say, my car was totaled. At first I couldn't tell what was going on. I couldn't see anything. That is, everything was blurry. In the confusion, I pressed my hands-free device to call my wife because my phone had disappeared in the collision. But it was still synced. I got a hold of her and she immediately scolded me for not calling 911 first. So I hung up with her, and still not knowing why everything was blurry, I hit the hands-free device again and I told it to call 911. The reply from the device was, "Sorry, Robert, I cannot dial 911. So I then proceeded to look for my phone, and in the process I saw my glasses laying there on the floorboard of the car. Mystery of the blurry vision solved. I then found my phone, which had been displaced a great deal from the impact, and called the police. You can imagine the rest of the evening. I ended up in the emergency room where they checked me over. My only complaint? My left arm. It hurt pretty bad. They gave me an x-ray and found no breaks. The doctor was stern. She said, "You'll need the next 2 or 3 days off to recoup. You're going to be extremely sore tomorrow and the next few days." She gave me a prescription for some muscle relaxers, and she sent me home. You can imagine my night in the sense that first time I ventured out to another lodge, this happens. The next day, I had to meet the insurance adjuster out at the scrapyard where my car had ended up. I'll never forget his words that day. As he was there looking over the car, reviewing the police report, noting the approximate speeds and impact zones, he said, "So how's the driver?" I said, "You're looking at him." And at that point, he looked at me and said, "You're kidding me. I've seen a lot of accidents. You run this accident 10 times. 9 out of 10, you're dead, pal. Go buy a damn lottery ticket." So, that night, when the worshipful master of Sequoia Lodge number 827 in Illinois bid me that I get home safe, I guess he holds a good weight with the man upstairs, because although I wasn't an accident, I did get home safe. My friends and brothers call it my death day, and I'm sure when the 1-year anniversary of that day comes up, I'll be having a pint of lager with the many people I consider my manifold blessings. So I propose a toast to worshipful masters and past masters everywhere for their gift of good fortune to the brethren. After all, he did say, "I know you will get home safely." And I did get home safe and sound. And so you all know, I never did get sore, and I never had to use any pain medication. That's some serious divine providence. So now you can see that if you didn't already know, the gamut is spanned as wide as it can be on the range of things we write about and talk about on the Midnight Freemasons. Perhaps you have a paper, scholarly or not, to share. If you do, and you want to, email it in a short bio to me at wcypodcast@gmail.com and type submission in the subject line, and we can feature it on the Midnight Freemasons. Now, some news is that I just finished recording 4 more famous Freemason segments for the podcast called Far From Centered, hosted by Brother Robert Lewis. His show isn't Masonic in general, it's more of a variety program which touches on Masonry from time to time, but each week I will be delivering a famous Freemason there. On the first episode we covered John Wayne, then we covered Stephen Austin, the father of Texas, and I did cover Samuel Colt, which I admit was a Mason I had covered before, but I relayed different information and tied it into his dealings with the Texas Rangers. So look for that on upcoming episodes. I also am still working out the details of my appearance on another podcast, which is of a Masonic nature, but I don't want to spill the beans until the producer of that show has it all worked out. I'll be doing a Masonic conspiracy once a week there. Many of you know I've been working on a Lego Masonic Lodge within the Lego design software in the hopes of uploading it and buying it. Well, I completed it to the best I could with the parts available within the program, some things lacking, of course, like the Holy Book square and compasses and a G behind the Worshipful Master. Well, it turns out they discontinued the program, which allows one to buy the product they designed. So that was a giant bummer. Nonetheless, I am going full disclosure here. If you want the file, which is the lodge I built in the CAD program, I'll email it to you upon request. You can download the program from lego.com and then open the file I send you within, and feel free to build on it or change it, whatever you want to do. And of course, last Friday I did write a piece for the Midnight Freemasons about this as well. Let's move right along to the famous Freemason of the week. David Llewellyn Wark, D.W. Griffith. Born January 22nd, 1875, passed away on July 23rd, 1948. Was a premier pioneering American film director. He is best known as the director of the epic 1915 film The Birth of a Nation and the subsequent film Intolerance. Griffith's film The Birth of a Nation made pioneering use of advanced camera and narrative techniques, and its immense popularity set the stage for the dominance of the feature-length film in the United States. Griffith was born in Crestwood, Kentucky to Mary Perkins and Jacob Roaring Jake Griffith, who were of Anglo-Welsh ancestry. His father served as a Confederate Army colonel in the American Civil War and was elected as a Kentucky state legislator. Griffith was raised as a Methodist. D.W. attended a one-room schoolhouse where he was taught by his older sister, Mattie Griffith. After his father died when the boy was 10, the family struggled with poverty. When Griffith was 14, his mother abandoned the farm and moved the family to Louisville, where she opened a boarding house. It failed shortly after. Griffith left high school to help support the family. He first took a job at a dry goods store and later in a bookstore. Griffith began his creative career as a playwright, but met with little success. Only one of his plays was accepted for performance. Griffith decided to become an actor and appeared in many plays as an extra. In 1936, director Woody Van Dyke, who had worked as Griffith's apprentice on Intolerance, asked Griffith to help him shoot the famous earthquake sequence for San Francisco, but did not give him any film credit. It starred Clark Gable, Jeanette MacDonald, and Spencer Tracy. It was a top-grossing film of the year. Mostly forgotten by moviegoers of the time, Griffith was held in awe by many in the film industry. In the mid-1930s, he was given a special Oscar by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. In 1946, he visited the film location of David O. Selznick's epic western Duel in the Sun, where some of his veteran actors, Lillian Gish, Lionel Barrymore, and Harry Carey, were cast members. The actors found their old mentor's presence so disconcerting that he was asked to cut short his visit in order that filming could resume. Griffith was discovered unconscious in the lobby of the Knickerbocker Hotel in Los Angeles, where he had been living alone. He died of a cerebral hemorrhage on July 23, 1948 at 3:42 p.m. on the way to a Hollywood hospital. A large public service was held in his honor at the Hollywood Masonic Temple, but few stars came to pay their last respects. He was buried at Mount Tabor Methodist Church Graveyard in Centerfield, Kentucky. In 1950, the Directors Guild of America provided a stone and bronze monument for his gravesite. He was a member of St. Cecil Lodge number 568 in New York. That's it for this week. Remember to find us on Facebook, follow on Twitter at Whence Came You, check us out on Pinterest, Google+, MySpace, and Tumblr under the email address wcypodcast@gmail.com. Check out our apps for Apple and Android for streaming access to the show, including bonus features for each episode, including the papers we read, as well as Masonically themed wallpapers for your mobile device. Maybe you're at a business meeting or out on a date, your phone rings, the face lights up, and there's a cool Masonic image. All of a sudden, you're the most interesting fellow to your coworkers, or perhaps a mysterious gentleman to your date. Who knows? If you want access to the show streaming and choose the free way to do that, there's also the Stitcher Smart Radio app, which is free, but please, when you register, use the promo code Whence Came You with no spaces so that the folks over there know that you're using their app to access our show, and they will in turn send us $1 to help keep the lights on. Also, if you're not into apps but you want to support the show, go to our website, wcypodcast.com, and click the donation link. It's all secure through PayPal, and every dollar goes right back into the show. Join us next week for the next part in the series from James E. Frey on the Lost Word and some more great Masonic content. Have a wonderful 7 days, and I'll talk to you all next week. From Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson.